Hello again, golf fanatics. Billy Ho is back, continuing the coverage for the British Open. We are over in the UK, Royal Troon Golf Course. I've already released the preview video for the course preview itself. So basically, I kept that short and sweet, just under 8 minutes long. Check it out. We go hole by hole, just kind of describing the golf course, what the players are going to be facing, kind of how things were in previous venues when it was at Troon, in the course rotation of the British Open. So check that video out. Also, this is going to be more of a comprehensive coverage of the DFS side. We're going to jump on to Fantasy National. We're going to go over some models. We're going to talk course history. We're going to talk some players, old, young, DP World Tour, kind of try to cover as many as we can. There's 150 however many players in the field, so we can't cover them all. But just remember, subscribe to the channel. That's most important. I need to get those subs. And click that like button since it's right there. Also, jump over to X. Give me a follow at Billy Ho Sports. And let's get on it. It's funny, I remember Justin Leonard's 65 on Sunday at Troon back in 1997, probably better than I do Henrik Stenson's battle with Phil Mickelson in 2016, which is probably an indication of how much more I was into playing golf and watching the golf tour back then than I was in 2016. I really didn't kind of pick up. I played, my fair share of golf and all, but I wasn't into DFS at that time in my life. So that's probably the big reason for it. But 5 shots down on Sunday, comes out, makes every putt late Sunday, coming from 5 back to win, champion golfer of the year. That was 1997. Justin Leonard. I just remember him hitting 3-wood off of every tee, right out into the middle of the fairway, and then knocking them stiff, making putts. Now I went back and I watched more of the Stenson and Phil Mickelson in 2016. Stenson came out and bogeyed the very first hole to drop to a -11, and Phil birdied that first hole to start the whole day with a 2-shot swing. And I want to say he was Phil 13 under and -11 Stenson. So it was like a 2-shot lead for Mickelson right out of the gate. But Stenson went nuts after that. And he birdied 9 out of the next 17 holes. So he went birdies and pars. He didn't make any bogeys the rest of the way, I don't think. But he got to 20 under and beat Mickelson going away. And but I can just remember the two guys that Stenson is known for hitting 3-wood off the tee for accuracy. So it just feels like to me this year is going to be more of accuracy off the tee than distance. So that's where we're going to start. So let's jump over to Fantasy National and check it out. So the first thing I recommend is if you want to go ahead and start entering contests, just do that. Make yourself a dummy lineup. This is just kind of what I did with my first lineup. I made it, and I'll enter all my contests first with that same lineup before I go do any of my building and construction type stuff. So enter the contest you want to enter, like my contest, which is obviously 75 players, $3 entry, and top 3 paid. So $100 to the first place winner in a 75-man contest. Single entry, not bad. We want to get this thing filled sooner or later. We've been barely getting to just under 50 entries every week. And it is the same faithful people every week. So I appreciate all those that are getting in the contest. But I would like to juice it up just a little more to where that payout gets a little better. Because I'd like to get it to where I can maybe pay out the top 5 positions, which would be kind of neat. But anyway, the other contests that I usually like to enter in these big ones, obviously all the single entries. I'm a very single entry 3 max guy. $12 single entry albatross is very fair for payout and structure. All the 3 maxes are the same way. They've got a 5, they've got a 3, they've got a $15 3 max. I wish they kind of had a $10 3 max. That'd be kind of cool. But those 3 maxes, what you're looking for is 10% to the winner and then 10% of the winning prize is 10th place. So if it's 1,000 to the winner, then 100 for 10th, and then you want a min cash of 2x is your best bet, and you want to see it right around 20 to 22% paid. So that's just kind of how I break it down. So that's it in a nutshell. Tournament history. This is for the Scottish Open, so I apologize. I didn't think I would be looking at that. So let's switch over to Royal Troon Golf Club. So I thought I had it set up already for the Scottish Open, which I do. But we went over this in the previous video, just kind of verbally, but I'm going to show it to you visually, how much easier the front nine is than the back. You can see the back nine is just riddled with red and high bogey rates, 25% on average bogey rates for those 4 holes there after you start to make that turn. And then you really only got the 16th and a couple other holes to birdie. You got to really be on your game to make birdies coming home, or you're a dead man walking. And you really want to take advantage of the front nine, obviously. So, and then normally you get a little wind aided, I think, on these par fives. So take advantage when you can. Basically, what I do when it comes to building lineups is I events like this where they're big field, I want extra players. Like if I'm doing 10 to 15 lineups, what I typically do to enter all my 3 maxes and single entries, then I usually try to keep my pool 20 or less. So when I start marking guys off, then like I got 19 favored right now, but that's going to change. But what I'll do here is I'll add an extra 10 players so I can give myself a bit more robust of a pool. So we'll just randomly check off a few guys that, and you can see this is my initial model rankings. So you can see how some of the guys are kind of weirdly up here. This is 36 rounds. When I do my main model, I typically don't go that way. Also, I have it set for moderate to windy AF. So that's FYI on that. So if we just wanted to clear out that alone and then just get a baseline of just general, there you go. Obviously, Aaron Rye, obviously ball strikers is what we're emphasizing on. A guy like Keith Mitchell maybe have interest in. We'll have to deep dive later on in that. But I add the extra players and then whittle it down from there. So you also want to definitely wait as long as you can before building lineups to see what the weather's going to do, because it's over there and it's going to be like an early lock like it was this week. Thursday, you've got like Thursday morning tee times, AM, like 1:30 Eastern Standard Time over here is when they're going to start. And then they'll go off of 1 tee every 9 minutes for the next 12 hours. So tee times zones are going to be what we can target when they come out. So also just remember to subscribe to the channel, click the like, also follow me on X at Billy Ho Sports. You're going to get all the latest and greatest from there, horse racing and PGA content. NFL's coming up, fantasy football. I'll have some stuff on that too. So be on the lookout. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Let's get back to it. Now, my first model, I emphasized a lot of fairways and greens. So let's do this so we can light it up a little bit. Fairways gained, greens gained, birdie or better, DK. You got to have the scoring stuff in there, but I got putting because these are generous, pretty good sized greens for the most part. So putting from 25 foot plus, just like it was this week, is going to be very important. Lag putting. I think proximity from 200 plus is going to be a special category this week, because of guys probably hitting a lot more 3-woods and irons off the tee. So they're going to have 200, 215 yard approach shots into some of these greens where they're just looking to find the middle of the green somewhere and then 2-putt. And then obviously they're going to miss some of those greens because we will have some wind It will be wet. So with some rain and some 10 to 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, those are going to be blown off course. So around the green and that type of stuff is definitely worth having. Tee to green as well. So that's kind of how I broke it down thus far. And so what I'm looking for when I did my mixed condition model, I'll bring you over to that, is I made my conditions just moderate to windy AF. And then I went last 50, last 36, and just some of the similar categories. Are you hitting fairways in the wind? That's what I want to know. Are you good around the green in the wind? Does the wind affect your chipping around the green or your sand game? Because, chipping into the wind or chipping with the wind sometimes affects play. So I bumped that way up. And then just general strokes gained approach in the wind, 25%. That's kind of how I did it. You can see a guy like Brendan Todd ranks number one, which is interesting. I think he could benefit from playing out of the fairways, and he's had a really super hot putter lately. He gained like 9 or 10 strokes at the I believe it was the Travelers was the last tournament. You can see when you go on here, I always check. I don't treat this as gospel, but I do look to see if they can play in the wind, if they're better at strokes gained in the wind than their opponents is always good. This is more of a bent and a POA mix, so he's obviously a little bit better on bent, so that's a plus. And you can see almost 8 strokes putting at the John Deere, so that was the one. So his putting can hit and miss, obviously. He loses 3, gains 2, loses 3, but he's got a really solid around the green game. So he's pretty good there, and he's usually pretty good about gaining or being close to even, since he's not long off the tee, but he's very accurate. And wedges, he's good with them. You can see he's just kind of in these big time big boy fields like Memorial and US Open and Travelers, being even or just a stroke or two down in the approach category is not all that bad. He's gaining a stroke against the weaker field competition there. So that's what you got to kind of look for. Another guy that I thought was interesting over here in the mixed model, Siwoo Kim. A lot of these guys are leading me to believe that Pete Dye specialists are interesting on this type of course as well, because I think they take a lot of the undulations in the fairways, the tricky lies, the side hill lies, the angles to the green, the creativity around the green. A guy like Denny McCarthy, who we all know his prowess with the putter, very good around the green. He's 20th in this category. This is over like the last 50 rounds, I think. So in the moderate to windy category. So that's what I kind of look at when it comes to these guys. And then you got like Bern Wiesberger, who's won this golf tournament. Glover, some of these guys. Justin Rose has been a very popular. I'm going to just star him while we're thinking about it. May not be a guy I go to, but a guy that might be able to handle the weather outlook kind of thing. Tommy Fleetwood is not winning this golf tournament, but he's probably a really good cut maker, and he's probably going to get you somewhere between T20 and T30, or he could go ham on Sunday and backdoor you the top 10. That's how he's going to do it, in my opinion. Tom Hoagie was another one. I think he's more on the ball striking list that I had before. But Hollywood Hoagie missed the cut this week and disappointed a lot of people. He's so good with his irons, but his driver let him down this week. So that was his problem was his driver. And he made a ton of birdies in round 2. It just wasn't enough because he was just playing out of the rough and the fescue a little too often. So he might be a bounce back candidate. Not a particularly guy I'd look at and go, oh, Tom Hoagie, Open Championship, sign me up. Not really. But guys like Rory, guys like Oberg is ready for the big time? This is going to be his first British Open, but he's competing to win today at the Genesis Scottish. So we know he's competitive and his game fits. Another guy who's kind of interesting is Cam Smith. I'm going to put this in order of the salary to see, because we haven't really looked at salary just yet. But this is British Open DraftKings. Nope. Okay, my mistake there. I actually had the Scottish Open DraftKings pricing still loaded on my model. So I just they don't have the actual DraftKings pricing. So I went with the sportsbook odds, and that's probably going to drastically change a lot of things. But you can still see Brendan Todd number one in the mixed condition model. I like that. I like to see Russell Henley because he's kind of fitting my mold. I think I'm going to stick with these accurate driving type people. Siwoo Kim is a very accurate driver. You can see he's 18th in fairways gained. So Usti used to be automatic. That kind of guy. Tommy Fleetwood, obviously, that's why he's so popular. Uh, then you got a guy, Justin Leonard. He's popping in my model. So Justin Leonard at 500 or 5,000 to 1 or something like that. That's crazy. But older guys actually that I'm interested in. Why not Henrik Stenson? The guy won it in 2016 and he's still playing on LIV and he's still pretty good. A guy like Zach Johnson's the same way. He's playing some good golf, has big time success in the passing opens. Another guy that's really cracking off in the models. So going down here a little bit more, I want to get on the salary tip so we can start looking at some of these lower guys, like 6,500 Jordan Spieth, who I would really like to play here. He just can't seem because he's driving the ball very well. So I think he's going to find a lot of fairways, and it's just the inconsistency with the around the green and putting game. It's just been awful. The 97th around the green is just in the last 36 holes is just not Spieth like at all. Adam Scott, I guess you got to click on him. He's going to be very popular now that he's competing to win this week. He's really getting his game together, even though he doesn't really fit in the model rankings. So 6,500 is so cheap for the caliber of player of him. It's ridiculous. You see a guy like Corey Connors in good shape, and these are not DraftKings prices. It's 80 to 1 is what he is right there. So, and then you get up into the 101 range. Sam Burns, not so much. I know he's pretty good around the green, but I'm not really sure what to think of him like as an overseas type of guy in a British Open. Or I'll have to do a deeper dive on him. I don't want to ramble on too much. I just wanted to get down here and see if there were some guys that were showing up. A guy like Answer wouldn't be a bad play at all. He's the same type of player that hits pretty accurate off the tee and gains a lot of greens. So he's a guy that I'd consider posting maybe because he does gain fairways and he's a little better than this. If you actually change this up to, let's go back, let's just do more recent form and see what we're looking at here, and then see where these guys start ranking up down here. Because sometimes a guy that's really just found something, Denny's got really good recent form. And so let's see, Brendan Todd, 37th in the model, regular model, 23rd, Eric Cole. He's starting to get his game back into form. Somebody's game that translated, I believe Davis Thompson was a guy that I'd be interested in. He's really crushing it across the board. His around the green game is going to serve him well. Akshay Bhatia, I'm thinking he's up here in the middle. Might be close to 100. Yeah, he's a 110, but you can see where he ranks across the board in the model. He's just really good, and he plays difficult courses. He kind of thrives on the creativity around the greens and bailing himself out when he gets in trouble. But he does come in 11th fairways gained. He's a guy I'm going to have interest in, and he's probably, we'll look at it over on DraftKings, but he's probably very cheap in the model. Sammy Valimaki was another guy before I forget. Good good in the 75 to 100 range. Really good from 175 to 225 range in approach. So, he'll be able to handle layups with the wedges to try to save par, and plus get there from long range, 200 plus on approach. Accurate driver of the golf ball as well. So let's go over here and build some DraftKings lineups. We're going to clear that. And so the first thing you want to do is decide whether you're going Scotty. Scotty's obviously a great course fit. I'm not going to play. I might play a little bit of him. If I can fit him in a comfortable lineup construction, I'll do it. But I am just as comfortable. Like I didn't play any Rory, any Xander. I started a lot of lineups with Oberg. So I'm cool with that. I could start lineups with Rory or Xander. I mean, any one of these guys are just going to be just fine, and I think the ownership's going to be similar. Bryson's going to get a lot of love, even though maybe he might not be a good play. But I feel like to me, Bryson is that guy that he's kind of matured. He's figured things out. He's got his body back to normal after trying the experimental stuff with the beef and with bulking up and trying to hit it 9 miles. He's faster. His fast twitch muscles are faster, so he's hitting it just as far as he ever did. But he's a little bit more accurate, and I think he can be a little bit more lengthy accurate to where he can hit 3 woods and 5 woods and hybrids and driving irons off the tee and drive it 40 yards further than a Brendan Todd or a Denny McCarthy or somebody like that. So that's definitely an advantage to have. And I'll look into it more and keep an eye on press conferences too, because you never know. Bryson's pretty honest in his pressers. He usually tells you exactly how he's going to play a contest. Also, very good with the flat stick, good around the green, chipping and putting. There's places where you can still use the putter around the green. That was my main thing when I chose him to win the U.S. Open, was that it was going to be so easy to putt from off the green. But he surprised me how well he chipped it as well, how well he scrambled to get out of trouble. I mean, he was hitting it in that high grass almost every time. So if he can just avoid half of that stuff, he's going to be great. He's also strong enough to muscle the ball out of there. So you got to keep that into account too. Now, this would be a good place to start down here. I mean, like a guy like Brooks at 9K, Brooks has lots of top fives and top tens. So these guys, I mean, you can build lineups anywhere in here and be pretty comfortable. Bobby Mack, like I said, really come into his own. I don't think he'll be overwhelmed by the fanfare or anything. Brian Harmon is the defending champion golfer of the year. He's still a pretty good course fit for a short knocker. I mean, Corey Connors. I mean, this is the place to kind of start your cash build lineup where Corey Connors is low key good in these events and he can play overseas. His game translates. He's not just an Americanized, but this course is actually a little bit more Americanized than others. You'll hear a lot that lots of Americans have basically dominated, other than Stinson in 2016. The previous 3 winners before that are all Americans at Troon. So you can think about that. Do we want to try Justin Thomas at 7,400? That's insane. Down here a little further, like I said, Batia. And then if you want to go one more low key guy, you could play Scott. You could play Henley. I kind of like Henley. So now we're starting off, and we got our last 3 players with $9,600. That's what I kind of want to start. I want to reverse engineer my lineups this week to build with some solid guys down low first that I think can make the cut. And then I can just kind of spread it out up here, because now I can go, well, if I got this many guys, I can just play Fleetwood. Then I could play Morikawa. And now I've got Hatton or Hovland. I can just be real balanced. I got 3 top-notch 9K guys already on the books, or I can just punch in Scheffler, and then now I got to start working my way back up a little bit, but that's okay because Tagala is solid at 7,200. Now you're back up to that go zone again, and you can pick a solid guy in the middle here, like Decky is a really solid play. Cam Smith, if as long as he just doesn't really blow it with the driver, he's going to compete. Brooks get you there. So you got win equity with Brooks, win equity with Scheffler. Then you got 4 other guys that are solid DK scorers that can score points and get you those top 10s and top 5s, things of that nature. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So basically, it's like this. I'm starting out looking for guys that are accurate off the tee, that maybe get as much length as I can, but guys who are experienced in British Opens, who are good around the green, good with lag putting, good course management, and good wind players. I know you'll hear that a lot this week, but there are guys out there that do typically play better in the windier conditions. Look at tee times, see when these guys are going out, and keep an eye on the weather, because it is going to rain. There's like 30 to 50 to 60% chance of rain almost every day of the tournament. I just don't know what time of day that's going to occur. So best of luck this week. Keep grinding. Follow Billy Ho on X at Billy Ho Sports. Join the contest. Subscribe, like. Till next time. See you soon.